Welccome back to the last segment of the Fourth Estate, and we're still discussing with General Mugisha Muntu, Party President of the Forum for Democratic Change, the main opposition party in terms of elected officials that it has and its performance over the last two elections. Yes, Chris.
Part of our role as observers and perhaps critics is to let the political actors know the naked truth. And sometimes, I even told the General yesterday that he needs to realize that the FDC is leading now is akin to a patient that other doctors have found difficult to manage. And that patient is very stubborn, does not even want to take medicine, doesn't require injections. It's at war with the doctors. So if you take over that patient, I don't know what miracle you're going to use to ensure that this patient does not die in your hands. And then they say, you know, this doctor is the one who failed to manage the ailments. There are already ailments in this patient, and very, 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 very pronounced ailments. And the patient is very, very stubborn.
Is it terminal ailments?
Terminal. So the FDC brought hope to many opposition forces. Until we are able to discuss honestly why Dr. Besigye cut short his term, we will not get to the root of what's wrong in FDC. Because he says he wanted to let the party organize for 2016. Was Besigye too incompetent to organize for 2016? I'm just giving you an overview that there were already forces that were eating up Dr. Besigye. He's struggling to run a party, but it was not difficult. And I told General yesterday that I won't be surprised when the same forces eat you up. With all the zeal, with all the commitment you are bringing, they're going to eat you up. One, because, Charles, FDC has failed to rally. It's the leading opposition party. It is incapable of rallying other opposition forces to come together as a country, to form coalitions and be able to challenge.
General argued that it's only a 7-year-old party.
Hold on, then if you are 7-year-old, then don't contest. Don't into a game of adults when you think you're a baby. Once you join a boxing ring of adults, then you're not a baby.
I actually saw that rather than being an ailing patient, FDC is a young kid who's running around.
No, that can't be. So the issue is the forces within FDC are so convoluted that you can't tell their own aspirations. Their aspirations are not reconciling with the aspirations of the population of the party. And that's why I keep insisting the issue of the ideology. Somebody comes to do the party, some think by virtue of having been powerful. Why Besigye was what I can tell you. Besigye rallied his colleagues to get from the reform agenda. Because Besigye was a young person in the NRM setup, it was seen like, how can these small boy leaders? He gets out, some people could not reconcile to the fact that Besigye is their leader because they came with the titles. And in FDC, by virtue of having titles, they cannot mobilize. They are only in the clandestine meetings where there is tea. They are only able to call the media, give an interview. They can't go on a pulpit to a rally. They want to organize a seminar of 20 people and give them the history of how they understand Museveni, how Museveni has done this, how they are the ones who did ABCD in Museveni. But then you have FDC has got young people, has got the middle class, has got people who want a new dispensation. You don't come with your baggage that, you know, I was once this, therefore I am supposed to be this in this party. So that's also a big problem, and they are there. So these contradictions within the party would help Mugisha Muntu run FDC if first of all they agreed that we can disagree but agree on this. Now what Muntu is doing is saying we are going to build a house. Angelo bring sand, bring Kokoto, bring wheelbarrows, bring this, but there is no architectural design of this house. We are asking FDC, what is your architectural design?
I thought the architectural design is the party platform.
No,
well, the general is here.
The party platform is the cement, is the concrete, is the builder. The party platform is the wheelbarrow. Those are things they're having. But where is the design? You can modify the design a bit, but there must be a design that we are building a house like this.
We have the general here, so let him respond to those.
First, there's nothing under the sun that cannot be changed. If there are people who know what to do, and if they are committed to doing that. But at the same time, as the Bible says, there are people who won't believe until they touch. Thomas, he could not believe until he could touch or see physically. Now, Chris is painting a picture of that nature. Because in our own understanding of the direction that we are taking in FDC, all the challenges that Chris is talking about are nothing, because we'll cut through all of them. Why? Because we are doing some of the things that are so fundamental, building them within the party. When I tell you about internal processes, when you have fair, transparent internal processes, there is no contradiction you're not to be able to deal with. Whether it's ideological, whether it's difference on policy position, whether it is a clash between personalities. You need to understand that. Some people may not understand that as we speak now. But you see, down the road, maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road, when we're not even in leadership, people look back and they understand what we're trying to talk about. But even those who care to read books, management books, you'll understand.
Would you want
processes,
would you want
processes in an
sorry,
organization, not only the political, even in economic enterprises, in social organizations.
Going by Chris's
what brings people together, what creates cohesion in an organization is the internal environment.
Yeah, but
the climate within which people know that, yes, I am committed to this, John is committed to this, Mary is committed to this, and this is how we intend to do it, and it brings you together. However, you may disagree along the road. If you've got internal process where you know that when there's a disagreement, yes, we can discuss and resolve it. That completely suppresses what he's talking about. For example, he's talking about ego. Yes, ego. Ego is one of the things that causes disruption in organizations on the African continent. Because at an individual level, many of us have really not evolved to know how to control our emotions, to control our egos. Our egos are so huge that the driving motive of why many people are in the different things that are in, and also in politics. So if you don't have strong internal processes in an organization, then the egos clash and an organization is wrecked. So the only way you can subject egos is when you build a strong culture. Don't think that in European parties or American parties that there aren't people who have got egos. They have. They also have egos. They are human beings. But because there is a strong internal culture, organizational culture, there is discipline, there is a way things are done,
let me ask this question this
you
way.
will not cause disruption.
What are the chances
Yes.
that in your 5-year leadership at the top of FDC, these things are not going to overwhelm you? And like if I follow Chris's analogy, the ideal that you're trying to preach, and you're saying in 10, 15, 20 years, will be written on the epitaph of FDC.
Yes.
No.
Is a possibility that could
Let me
happen?
tell you. Again, there are two things here that matter. A core of leaders who believe in what they are doing. Because like in 20 years, there's no way you're going to have one leader leading FDC.
General, just
But
for,
you see,
General,
if
just
you've
for
got
clarity.
if you've got an internal culture that plans and manages succession, it means that you are all serving and focused on the same direction that you are taking. To the extent that when one leadership is leaving, it hands over the baton to the next, and they continue the same footpath to establish the same thing. Again, if you look at the African continent,
General, just for
the other
clarity.
destabilizing factor in organization is succession.
General,
People
just
never
for
plan
clarity.
for succession, they never manage it well, and it creates
General,
instability
okay,
in
General,
organization.
just for clarity.
These are critical. If you don't do them in an organization, whether it's political, whether it's economic, you will hit turbulence. That's why most of you...
Just for clarity, General.
Please clarify.
General, what you're saying is okay.
Yes.
But I'm saying every house is good.
Yes.
But there is a bungalow,
Yes.
there is a storage house, there is a go down, there is a skyscraper. Which house is FDC building? So to be clear. Every house is okay, but there are different types of houses.
Yeah.
There is a go down,
Yeah.
there is a bungalow,
Yes.
there is a storage, two floors,
A
there is a
mansionette.
skyscraper. Which house is FDC building?
What do you mean?
It is important to know what house are you building.
Maybe you want me to walk you through our policy platform.
No, I just need the design of this house you are building. What is it? So that I can choose that I want to live in a storage house.
First,
I want to live in a go down.
Okay, let me summarize it for you. First, we know that FDC is a vehicle. It's not an end in itself. It's a vehicle to capture power.
So is it a Mercedes Benz or it's a Toyota?
Just
go ahead and explain.
Just wait. It's a vehicle through which we want to capture power and implement the policy positions in the way we have shaped them in the way we know that they can create a changed environment in this country. And there are a number of issues within that policy platform. There are governance issues, if I may run through a few of those. Governance issues. We know that we have had problems in this country for 50 years because we don't have democratic practice. We know we've never had a leadership that believes, is committed to observation of the principle of separation of powers. You've got the legislature there, you've got the executive there, you've got the judiciary there. All acting independent of each other, but also cooperating for the stability and good governance of the country. We also know that we don't have transparency in the way government resources are managed. And therefore, all the institutions, even those that are written on paper, which are backed by different legal frameworks, when it comes to implementation, nothing ever is done in the right way. We want to correct that. We want to ensure that there is justice, that there are freedoms and rights which people enjoy as they are embedded within the Constitution. That's on good governance in summary. We want to ensure that we transform our society. Now, therefore, we have to look at education, the kind of education that we have got to tackle. 50 years, we've got an education that does not create people or produce people who are innovative, who are creative. You don't have anybody now doing anything in the technological area, except a few, and I put off my hat for them. Those young people who are doing something in Makerere, a few. But if you have 50 years, and you've got an educational system that does not produce people who are innovative, who are creative, then you know that there is a problem. That's one area of focus that we need to look at. Look at curriculum, look at how to motivate teachers, look at how to have kids, even when there is free education, but quality free education. Because we have got other countries that have got free education, but at the same time it's
they can produce
education.
quality.
And look at all those things that end up giving you a product. Someone at the end of the production line, maybe out of universities or tertiary institution, someone who becomes a productive member of society. So we recognize that there is a big weakness in the education area. We want to tackle that. Agriculture, 80% of our population is in agriculture. Investment in agriculture by this government, I don't think we have to debate that. State House has got more money that it uses for running its activities than the money which is input in agriculture. How can you transform a society unless you invest in agriculture, unless you invest in training of farmers, unless you invest in technology, in farming, unless you invest in extension services, unless you invest in irrigation, unless you invest in all that.
I'm afraid we've run out of time.
And low interest rate, long-term loans for the agricultural sector. So health, same thing. Health, we recognize that there is a problem in the health sector. So if the time allows, I could run through.
No, I'm afraid our time is up. We need to be getting out of here.
Now, for Chris, he can go and look at all that and crystallize it if he wants to put a tag on us and say, oh, these are leftists, these are rightists, they are centrists.
I just want to know which
you can do that. For us, we know. We know that this is what we want to do, and there is no contest on that internally within the party. We are all agreed on how we want to transform this country. But however, to transform the country, you must first be cohesive as an organization. Then you must be able to take power. And then you can use that power.
I'm afraid our time is up. We need another show to finish this. Andrew, just one last word from you on this.
Well, I think for a lot of young people who are listening to the general, the question in their mind would be, you know, are political parties the kind of organizations that will transform society? I think we've got a raw deal for African political parties. That's why they are looking for other organizations.
We'll have to pick this discussion up on another occasion.
I'm afraid, like engineers building a house without a plan.
I'm afraid our time is up. I thought the plan is that platform. And I'm afraid, our time is up. We need to get out of here.
A program like this. Chris was one of the journalists who was spelling the end of FDC because of the conflict we just got into. Now we emerge from this conflict actually through a consensus. We're going to do many more things. Let me tell you, let me predict. You will see FDC, one of the most organized parties that you've ever seen, even on this continent.
That is if they don't fight you.
Thank you very much.
If they don't
thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Our time is up.
No problem.
Our time is up. We need to get out of here. We'll thank you very much. We'll invite you again on another occasion so that we can continue going through some of the issues that you have been
raising. I don't fight
Chris, we need to get out of here. Angela, thank you very much. Thank you very much to you all viewers for joining us tonight. And Of course, a big thank you to General. We'll invite him on another occasion to try and go through some of these issues. Have a good evening.